That reminds me of Richard Branson, the billionaire entrepreneur. People have asked him often, what is this key to success? One of the things he says is, I'm just not as afraid of failure as everybody else because I learn something so important every time something goes different than what I planned it to be. He doesn't even say something goes wrong or I failed. And so that reminds me so much of listening to your stories of being able to say, oh yeah, I thought it would go that way, but look how it's gone differently. I mean, it's no surprise to me that you became a scientist and that you have solved so many problems for so many people because you look at each problem as a possibility, not as a measure of your self-worth immediately in the moment, whether it goes exactly as planned. So I love that.
Hi, this is Dr. Jen Barna. Welcome to DocWorking, the Whole Physician podcast. At DocWorking, our specialty is coaching physicians to achieve the best of life and medicine. This is the podcast where we talk with doctors about real life outside of medicine.
Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm Jill Farmer, one of the lead coaches at DocWorking.com, and I am so excited today to be joined by Dr. Lilit Garibyan, an MD, PhD from Harvard Medical School. And we're going to be talking today about the 4 pillars of success that have really helped Dr. Garibyan come from a life as an immigrant who literally came to this country with nothing to now be an incredible doctor who's really making inroads and discoveries that could lead to some very important things in medicine. So, Dr. Garibyan, thank you so much, Lilit, for being here. It's just really exciting to be able to have this conversation with you today. Before we get into those 4 pillars, let's just start with your story. Tell us how you came to the United States and what life looked like for you and your family when you came here first.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Jill, for having me here today. I'm very honored to have this opportunity to speak with you. I always learn stuff from you, so it's great to be here. And I will start by telling everyone that, my family and I immigrated to the United States in 1991 from Armenia. I was 12 years old at that time, and we left Armenia because war broke out with one of the neighboring countries, Azerbaijan. And, my family just wanted us to be safe and have a better future. So we just left to come to the United States for better opportunities. However, at that time, we weren't really prepared for it because we didn't plan on it. So none of us spoke English. We didn't have any roadmap of, what America is or how it works, the system here. So it was very challenging, to come here and start from scratch as a teenager. Those were also challenging years for me. And because my parents didn't speak English, it was hard to get jobs. So socioeconomically, we had to struggle for many years, But I think the key part that helped us survive and thrive in the United States was sort of our love for knowledge and learning. At least for me personally, that's what really got me to where I am today. And starting from junior high, at which point I was in ESL, which is English for Second Language level 0. I didn't even speak enough to be in level 1. I started my journey from there. And by sophomore year of high school, I was in honors English. So I really worked hard and believed in the fact that my love for education and my love for learning new knowledge will get me to where I am today.
Yeah, and I know that's that first pillar then that we're going to talk about today in our 4 pillars of success is learning, trusting that we can learn and explore when we're in challenging situations, and that can move us through them. And I think that was such a powerful imprint for you. I know based on our earlier conversations that learning the language and doing what you needed to do to learn the language was the pathway toward you being able to achieve what you wanted to achieve in those early years. And it definitely left an imprint on you. I even see it in your work and in practice now. If you don't know something, your first inclination is to dive in and get more information and learn. Is that true?
Correct. Because, like Jill, none of us are born knowing everything.
Right.
And there's always situations where we are faced with new opportunities or new environments where we don't know how things work. And because I've had that experience where I've sort of took knowledge, learned it, and allowed it to get me to where I am, now I kind of almost rely on that as a way of life. And I would highly recommend everyone to do that. There's a lot of books and seminars, and now with the web and our access to information, one could learn almost anything. So if there's something new that you don't know how it works, or you want to try a new position or a job or opportunity, I highly recommend starting by seeking that knowledge, learning from books, seminars, and talking to people.
Yeah. And I love this because it separates what I think can be a problem for a lot of physicians, which is this presumption, because they've always kind of been smart and high achieving, that they should already know everything. And they sort of forget that the real achievement and success in life comes not from just automatically already having that fixed intelligence. It comes from the ability to problem solve and to move through and learn what you need to do in challenging situations. So I think, it's kind of that growth mindset versus the fixed mindset stuff. And in your case, a lot of physicians are used to always being the A+ student, and you and being, recognized as with their high academic potential. I know in your case, you had that really hard work that led you from not having mastery of the language to high level English. But you also had teachers in high school that were basically telling you weren't college material. Isn't that true?
Yes. I mean, I think the hardest part is believing in yourself at the beginning when you're not a master in the new knowledge and information, and not giving up, because you're going to have the naysayers who try to put you down, who try to say, you're not worth it, or you're not going to be able to get in. I mean, I had a high school counselor who told me not to even apply to college. I probably won't get in because my SAT scores were, average. Because my verbal score was low, it kind of brought down the average. But, a classmate told me, Lilit, what do you have to lose? Just go ahead and apply. And because we were a low income family, 4 of the UC systems, you could even apply for free. We were living in California at that time. So I said, that's true. I have nothing to lose. I don't even have to pay for this. So I applied and I got in. I was so excited. So I ran back to tell this school counselor that, look, I got in. And he was shocked too. And he sat me down. He said, wow, this is great. But, I really want you to do well when you go to college. So I would highly recommend that you go 2 years to Glendale Community College and then transfer to UCLA. UCLA is very hard. I'm not sure if you could handle it. I'm doing this really for you. I want you to succeed. And, that was a really eye-opening experience, because, these are the people that are there to encourage you, to support you, yet they're kind of trying to hold you back. And, at that time, my parents didn't have money. I had to take some loans. I didn't know what loans were. When I asked, they said, oh, this is a money you borrow. And if you go and you don't do well, then they'll take you to jail if you can't pay back this money. And so here I was having my school counselor tell me that I don't, I'm not qualified to go, that I probably will fail if I go. I have to take a loan. If I don't pay back, I'm going to go to jail. So I had to make a decision, am I going to go to UCLA or not? So situations like that really make you, wonder what step to take. And I'm glad that I did the right thing and I went, because I truly believe in my love for knowledge and my ability to learn. And I trusted that will help me succeed. But like you said, I think at the beginning, it's difficult and most people give up at that time. But I hope that, people start believing and being a little bit more confident about themselves and keep going, because eventually it will pay off.
Yeah. And it kind of leads us to our second pillar. So the first pillar is really trust in your ability to learn and explore. You don't already have to know everything or be the expert. Trust in that ability as a way to help you build success. And the second one I love is that every problem can become a possibility. So tell me what led you to that awareness. What specific experience in your own life led you to that truth?
Yeah. So, there were a lot of situations in life, especially early on growing up, that I saw it as a problem. For example, we needed to buy basketball shoes for being part of the basketball team in high school. And I didn't really, have the money to do that. My parents didn't have the money. So that was a problem, but instead of allowing that problem take over me, make me feel bad, give up, or just feel as a victim, what I chose to do is said, okay, this is the problem, but what if this is an opportunity for me to do something new, to try to find the money for this? So what I did is I worked in the cafeteria. I got a job doing that. I tutored classmates. I drove rich kids to make money. So I made that extra money and paid for the shoes. At the time, the purpose was really just the shoes. But when I look back now, honestly, those experiences like really helped me develop my interpersonal skills and how to interact with people. It ended up paying me much more than just those shoes. But it helped me solve the problem. And the same thing in UCLA, we didn't have money for some of the tuition. So I also got a job working as a security officer in the police department. And again, met such great people, to help me make my experience at UCLA even more enjoyable. And also during breaks, a lot of kids would go to vacations, right? Because they could afford, and my family didn't have that opportunity. So I could have just kind of felt that, oh no, this is such a problem. I can't go on vacations. I can't have fun. But I viewed it as, well, on the positive side, I'm home. I have the textbooks for next semester. I could sit and read everything and be prepared. So I always try to look at the positive side of everything, because that's what keeps you going. If you start looking at the negative, then that really puts you down and creates this like negative feeling where you just don't want to continue anymore. But if you just flip it and, reframe the problem and just say, you know what, like maybe this is an opportunity for me to learn and focus on that, then you will find more energy to keep going.
Yeah, that reminds me of, Richard Branson, the billionaire entrepreneur. People have asked him often, what is this key to success? And one of the things he says is, I'm just not as afraid of failure as everybody else, because I learn something so important every time something goes different than what I planned it to be. He doesn't even say something goes wrong or I failed, but he just says, and so that reminds me so much of listening to your stories of being able to say, oh yeah, I thought it would go that way, but look how it's gone differently. I mean, it's no surprise to me that you became a scientist and that you have solved so many problems for so many people, because you look at each problem as a possibility, not as a measure of your self-worth immediately in the moment, whether it goes exactly as planned. So I love that. So pillar number 3 is to be a trailblazer. And so tell us how you have been able to be a trailblazer, and why you think more people need to be able to appreciate that within themselves as a pillar of success.
Thank you. Well, I mean, for my own life here in the US, I'm the first one from our family to go to college, graduate, get MD and PhD degrees from Harvard. So that really has been a trailblazing experience. And to do that without, any support from the people that you're close to, it was difficult, right? But I think looking back now, it was one of the best experiences, right? Because you set an example for not just your family, but everybody else who comes from similar backgrounds as you. But here I want to kind of take the opportunity to talk about my research, because I think that is a great example of how I was able to blaze new trails in the research work that I'm doing. So my PhD at Harvard was in immunology. And when I was doing the dermatology residency, I met this inspiring professor, Dr. Rox Anderson, who is a laser and device technology development expert. And he's developed a lot of the lasers we have in dermatology, like laser hair removal, laser tattoo removal, cool sculpting, which is a fat removal procedure. So he was talking about cool sculpting when I was a resident. And he said that this device is very popular. Over 15 million treatments have been done worldwide by patients. But one of the major side effects from it, which is completely reversible, but it's this numbness in the treated area that lasts about 6 to 8 weeks. And when I first heard about it, I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, what if we could induce that numbness or loss of sensation, right, in areas where people feel pain and itch? And this lasts for about 6 to 8 weeks, and then it goes back to normal, right? But you could treat their symptoms for 6 to 8 weeks. We don't have great therapies for itch and pain, and we see patients come and complain about this every day in dermatology clinics. So I approached him and I asked him, if I could join his lab to study this. And honestly, at that time, I had no idea how neurobiology worked, how the nerves on the skin really functioned. My background was totally in something different. I didn't have engineering background or device development background, but I really felt passionate about this problem and I wanted to study it and I wanted to learn it. And he said, sure, come and join my lab. So for me, like to take that step to blaze new trail of learning something completely new was a great opportunity because the success now is just amazing. I mean, how much we discovered and how much we developed from this study that I will probably talk about later.
Yeah. We're going to do a whole nother podcast just about that whole exciting journey. But I love, because being a trailblazer requires an ability to not be certain about everything. And I think that's something that you really embody beautifully, that can be an inspiration to all of us. A lot of us, okay, well, I'll learn new things and I'm willing to work through problems as a possibility and to reframe them. So I'm not just, quitting when things don't go as expected. But then I've got to find that within me, courage, right? To be willing to move forward into unknown territory. And I think what you're reminding us of with this pillar is you named it in your own life, looking at the things that worked for you that create success, is you're reminding us that that's where the real magic happens, right? When we really get brave enough to try the absolutely new thing and then just be willing to let it deliver and show us, what it was. And you could have known, I'm guessing, as you were that PhD student switching into this new area, all of the different things that would unfold for you at that moment. You just knew you just wanted to try it.
And, we as physicians have that a lot. Like we always want to kind of play it safe and not take risks. I mean, I could have stayed in immunology. I knew the field really well. I did a PhD and then I could have published lots of papers. I would have hit the ground running from day one, right? And built on what I already had. But, what I learned is that when you feel passionate about something, take a chance. If you really feel that you want to do it, don't let fear hold you back, because you will never know what more you have to give until you take that step. They call this like stretch assignments or stretch opportunities from the books that I'm reading. I didn't know that was the term, but if you always play it safe, you will just kind of constrain yourself to this one path and you won't allow yourself to like try new experiences where you might even be better in that. I feel like I'm better in what I do now than immunology because I really love it and it creates more opportunities. So my advice would be to, just take a risk. I mean, you never know where it's going to take you, but you have to do it for the journey and not for I'm going to get this out of this. Exactly.
Right. And we get so attached to the outcome that it just holds us back and keeps us small in so many ways instead of committing to the exploration of the journey, which you remind us. And then the fourth pillar, which you identify that have helped you build success, and I know you want this to inspire other people too, is when you're on that journey in the unknown, commit to it and execute, which is another way of saying, this is the hero's part of the journey where you have to be willing to kind of stick with it and move through. Tell us a little bit about how you came to that and how this pillar has led you to success.
Yeah. So Jill, this is where, when people hear success stories, they feel like everything just worked out, by magic. A lot of times we just hear the beginning and the end, and you're like, wow, you think like it was a straight shot, but in reality, everybody has ups and downs. Even great companies like Amazon or, other big successful people have had their ups and downs. And that's the reality. Everybody goes through this roller coaster ride. The most important part is if you have committed to the journey, is when you're on the downfall, don't give up. You have to believe that, okay, the up part is going to come. And when you're in the up, you have to know that it's going to go down again at one point. So I think being prepared for that mentally is what helps you to keep going, and my advice is that, don't give up. Don't get bogged down with getting everything perfect. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have down times. You're not going to know everything and you're not going to have everything figured out in your journey, right? But you have to keep your eye on the prize and focus on what's in front of you and take it one step at a time. And I think that's what really has helped me to stay committed to what I'm doing. I really want to make a new therapy that I could bring back to patients and help them. And I keep reminding myself every day, why am I doing this, especially in those down times? Because honestly, at the end of the day, there's nothing more rewarding than to see a new technology benefit a patient and to say that you had a hand in doing this. To me, that's what really keeps me going.
Yeah, very powerful. Dr. Lilit Garibyan, thank you so much for sharing your 4 pillars of success. Again, they are: number 1, learn and explore. Number 2, every problem is a possibility. Number 3, be a trailblazer. And number 4, commit to the journey and execute. It has been so great to have you here on DocWorking, the Whole Physician podcast.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here.
Make sure, listeners, that you tune in. We're going to have some more conversations with Dr. Garibyan as well about some things that we touched on, but that are really exciting, so that you can have some understanding about some things that she's co-founded that could really revolutionize medicine. So make sure you tune in for those as well. Until next time, we'll see you.
Hello, and thank you for listening. This is Amanda Taryn. I'm the producer of the DocWorking podcast. If you enjoyed our podcast, please like and subscribe. We would also love it if you checked out our website, which is docworking.com. And you can also find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Our Instagram is DocWorking1, and that is with the number 1. When you check us out on social, please let us know what you would like to hear on the podcast. Your feedback really means a lot to us. And if you're a physician with a story to tell, please reach out to Jen at docworking.com. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time.